You're on episode 29 of the Off the Ball League of Ireland podcast, coming to you from Off the Ball Towers here in Dublin Marconi House, just off Stephen's Green. Lovely, fantastic, sunny Wednesday. It's Jamie Moore here, and we're very happy to welcome a very big man to the studio. It's Bray Wanderers defender Hughie Douglas. Hughie, hello, how are you?
Thanks for having me, Jamie.
Great stuff, thanks a million for coming in. Now, we've just spoken there about Shamrock Rovers and Bray Wanderers in a massive game for both clubs this Friday. Unfortunately, you won't be playing in it. Just give us the background to your most recent injury. It's a second serious knee injury, and you're a little bit post-operation now, middle of rehab, and aiming to be back for the start of next season, hopefully.
Yeah, I tore my ACL for a second time, different knee, luckily. And last Friday it was 2 months post-op, so everything's going to plan. And as I was saying to my surgeon there last week, this season is over for me, and I kind of accepted that a few weeks ago. So my goal is to get back for next season and get back fit and strong as ever before.
The injury happened in training?
Yeah, it was in training on the AstroTurf. I planted my foot and went to turn, and my knee gave out. It was non-contact. And yeah, I was sent for an MRI the following day with the club, and yeah, just results showed that it was an ACL tear. A few little minor things going on, but yeah, at least I got the sort of clear mindset that it was an ACL tear and what happens, and I've been there before, so just get the operation done, and that was done. So 2 months now passed.
Now, as you mentioned, it's 8 weeks since the operation. Talk us through how that process works from being in the hospital, and you've been, charting your whole progress on Instagram and some really cool photos of, like, in the hospital bed, in the hospital gown with the scar, through to first time back in the gym, and now you're actually doing proper stuff in the gym. Tell me how the last 8 weeks has gone for you.
Firstly, yeah, you get the operation done. The main goal is to get the swelling down and get the range of movement back. And then your main goal after that is to be off the crutches, hopefully within 2 weeks. And then once that hits, it's more or less progressing with the physio and with your rehabilitation program. The next goal obviously is to get into the pool, start a few small movements, and then hopefully back on the bike. Once you're on the bike, then it's you kind of see kind of an end goal where on the bike, next stage is running. Next stage after that might be changing direction when you're running, and then get involved back in with the team training. So there's a lot of little stages in between the start of the operation itself to when you go back playing, but there's a lot of protocols you have to hit and a lot of end goals. So I know it is long, I'm under no illusion, it's a long little process, but just need to use the time of the off season when the lads are resting to really hit home the programme.
Yeah, I suppose being able to actually physically move again and do cardio is a big thing. Being able to be on the bike, on the cross trainer, running, makes you feel like an athlete again, I suppose. Yeah,
just walking normally again, you take it for granted, and it's very hard watching the guys train, and you can't really do anything, and the position we're in the league, you kind of feel useless that you can't help the lads in the relegation fight. But it was something that I accepted as soon as I got the news and that my season was over. But yeah, it's just trying to get back moving like a normal person again, and then hopefully feel like a footballer at the end of it.
Yeah, but you certainly are moving, because myself and you, we did a charity cycle in a heated altitude chamber with the former Bray manager at the time. It would have been caretaker Graham Kelly, who was in the studio here a couple of weeks ago. And it was in a heated altitude chamber, very, very hot, zero oxygen. This man here on the bike with his number 2 Bray training gear on absolutely bashed us all out of the water. So even though he's injured, he's still fit as a fiddle. A couple of days after that, you had the operation. Talk me through that process, because it was a big news story at the time that the club at the time didn't pay for it. Yeah,
it was well documented that the club was going through a tough time, and myself and John Sullivan were left in a pretty awful predicament that there was no money there to pay for the operations. Now, me and John had to find other resources to get the money to pay for the operations. We did. A few weeks went by. It was out in the media, and I think that had to be done to get the actions in place to get the players paid first, and hopefully be reimbursed the operations. But no, that I've not won the whole grudges, not whatsoever. That was done. Everything's in the process now of me and John being reimbursed everything we're owed, which is great. And we can only take the chairman's word that no debt will be left unpaid. So we can only take his word for that.
Yeah, certainly in fairness to the new chairman, Niall O'Driscoll, sat down there maybe a month ago. He seems to be a good guy. He seems to want the best for Bray Wanderers, and I'm sure that money will arrive for you.
Yeah.
So the morning of the operation, you arrived at a hospital. Had you been given any indication then that there was a problem? When did you find out there was? And how did that make you feel just hours before a massive, massive operation?
Me and John kind of knew something was up, say 2 or 3 weeks before the operation. We were in contact with the club and our surgeons that here, has this been paid for? And we got the feedback, no, it hasn't. So yeah, we knew it was coming, and then it all just broke, and then turned up on the day of an operation at Beacon Hospital where you have to put your own card in the machine and pay for it. It's not a nice situation for any professional athlete in this country to go through. And that insecurity, whether it's going to be paid or whether the operation's going to go ahead or not, secretary's ringing you, it's not a nice situation, but luckily everything's done and yeah, on the right track.
I'm not sure if the words sad, embarrassing, shambolic should be used, not for you, for the club at that time. What did you feel towards them then? It was clearly the old chairman, the old people involved. You must have been angry.
I was extremely angry. I've been at Brays since 2014, and I'm the type of player that I might not be the most naturally gifted, but I give my all for the club, and I just wanted to just sort this serious situation I was in. It's a big operation, it's my second one, I'm not getting any younger, I'm 25. I just wanted to be sorted and just be reassured that yeah, we're going to help you in this bad time you're in. Get back fit, strong as before, get back playing. And that's all I wanted. I want some reassurance, and I wasn't given it. So I was extremely angry, so was John. But that's in the past now. I just want to be refocused now, getting back for next season, wherever that might be. Yeah,
just a final one on that, and I don't want to ask a personal, question for finance, but how did you come up with such a lot of money? Because it would have been, what, 4 or 5 grand possibly to pay for that in such a short space of time?
You're lucky that with the money that we make in this league, it's not a lot. You put some away for a rainy day because it's short-term contracts. Comes the end of October, season's over, we don't get paid. So you need a lot of money for the Christmas period and stuff. It's an expensive time for any family to go through, whether it be rent or your family or whatever it might be, mortgages or down payments on cars. You have a bit of money luckily put away. So me and John were in that situation where luckily we had something put away for a rainy day and we just tapped into it.
So you have the operation, and then it comes out in the media that players are owed money, staff are owed money, everybody is owed money and the operations aren't paid for. You guys are dealing through the PFAI. There's a very, very interesting photo taken of the squad and the injured players at the front on their crutches. That period again is one I'm sure you never want to go through again, but to have to, bring all of that through the media, because I know I spoke to you in private and I asked you at the time, will you speak to me, and you said, no, I'm not going to the media about it. I'm a proud Bray man, I want things to be sorted. But eventually you guys had to do that. Yeah,
it was kind of a last resort situation. And at the end of the day, we're players. All we're paid to do is play football. And that's all we want to do. We shouldn't be coming out in the media, getting involved in conversations that we shouldn't be involved in. Business side of the club, that's nothing to do with us. And it should never be the case. But it got such a dire straits that we had to say something. We couldn't just be quiet anymore. And that goes for all the players. We had the operations. The lads had payments regarding wages that weren't there. Mortgages to be paid for, families to be looked after, young families at that case as well. But no, it was an awful situation for all of us to go through.
You've been through it now, and you find out that the club's been bought by a new chairman, Niall O'Driscoll, and his brother Tim. What conversations did you have with them, and have you had with them since, about the operation and about other things? Because as we said, you've been at Bray on and off for a long time, and you're very, very proud to call yourself a Bray Wanderers player, and they seem to be now proud to own the football club.
You can see it on a match day. We have a lot of volunteers that were pushed away by the previous regime back, and it's great to see. They started up the Junior Supporters Club again. Getting young fans is the main thing, because that's the next generation for us. And with regards to myself and the lads, he said to us, lads, there'll be no debt left unpaid. We can only take the man's word, and everything so far has been great. No payments have been left short on wages, so it's all positive stuff on the pitch, off the pitch, and that's all we want really.
I haven't been out in Bray since they've come in. I can't wait to go to a game. I'm undecided yet what game I'm going to go to on Friday, because there's a few great ones on. There's Bray Shamrock Rovers, there's Pats playing in Inchicore against Waterford, there's Draw to UCD where UCD might win the league, so undecided yet. But for people that haven't been back to the Carlisle, and I know simple things like new toilets have been painted, there's been free ice cream for kids. There was an interesting event where it was girls' night out where women were in free for the Cork game. Tell us about being around the Carlisle match night since the new lads have come in, because it's a total change.
It's been great, to be honest. As I said, seeing volunteers back, people that have been there through thick and thin with the club over 30 years, 25 years, that helped and never took a penny. Seeing these people back, and it's put a smile on my face. Seeing young people at the games, under 14s go free. I think that's the case for the rest of the season, which is brilliant. The Junior Supporters Club, a lick of paint around the ground, a few signs up, and free ice cream, as you said. But it's all positive things. It's just little brain bash. It's just sitting down discussing what can we do in the Bray area to make people come to the games. And I think Niall and his brother have done that, which is great to see. And hopefully towards the end of the season, we have 6-7 games left, we get some good crowds at the games, and there's no reason why. Brays is a big catchment area, so hopefully it's going to be the case. Yeah,
because simple fixes to the stadium make it look better from an aesthetic point of view. But just, I was actually there for an under-17 game, and you go into the toilet, you wash your hands, the tap works, there's soap, there's a hand dryer. People watching and listening may think you're talking absolute garbage, but in all League of Ireland grounds, that's not actually the case.
Yeah.
So simple fixes like that to attract your mum, for example, who goes to probably every game, but she probably didn't want to use the toilets in any League of Ireland ground. Now she'll go to her home ground and go, yeah, I can bring young daughters, young nieces and stuff to go and see you play next year, because it's actually an acceptable place to go and watch a match and use toilets and do all the other stuff.
It's one thing I think the FA need to look into, making the fan experience a bit better at grounds, and whether it be facilities wise, making them look a bit better aesthetically, might bring people in, whether it be food available, clean toilets. People that don't watch League of Ireland games or could be new to this podcast, the facilities aren't great. We'll hold our hands up and that's the case, but if they can just come together and just a lick of paint, toilets, food available for the people come to the games, it just makes a small little difference. People might say, hold on, we can go there, have a good experience, go home and say we went to a League of Ireland game. So just little small things make a huge difference. Yeah, I think as well a bar would be a great idea. There's a huge amount of space in the Carlisle grounds for something like that as well, and just to allow people to have a glass of wine, have a beer, the kids to have a soft drink before the game, half-time, after the game, maybe bring in the manager and a couple of players for a Q&A, maybe bring in an injured player like you to speak to the Junior Supporters Club. It's a money maker, but it becomes more of an experience. And if you're a wife or a girlfriend and your boyfriend or husband's a big football fan, they go, well, I'll go with a couple of the girls and actually have a couple of drinks, watch the game, but the game is actually an aside to the event. Like, it's just about getting people in the door, Jamie, and I think especially where Bray is, there's a lot of bars, a lot of shops, food, restaurants along the beach. Why not make a day out of it? Come to the game, you get a free ticket in, and maybe try and get joint partnerships with the local restaurants where you pay a ticket in, you get your meal after, or something like that. It's just about coming together, local businessmen in Bray, and as I said, I'm a footballer, I shouldn't really be telling people how to run a business, but just trying to get ideas together and hopefully get people in the door to watch the game. Well, no, ideas are good and they're great from players, because it's you guys who have experience of the league and other clubs as well. Football-wise, it's not been a good year, and that's a fact. 29 games played, 4 wins, 3 draws, 22 defeats, scored only 19 times, conceded 76. So it's 15 points, 9 behind Limerick with a much worse goal difference. So it's probably a 10-point gap, really. 4 managers, lots of issues, as we've spoken about as well. Where can it go football-wise? Big question, I know. It's a very, very tough situation we're in. We're going on the pitch. We have 6-7 games left. We're 9 points behind Limerick, as you said. A really, really bad goal difference. Might as well make it 10. Since Gary has came in, it hasn't gone past who we're playing that week, and I think that's the mentality we need to have as a group, that we don't look past Shamrock Rovers on Friday. We get something from that game, we go on to Waterford the following week. We can't be getting too ahead of ourselves. Just trying to get points in the board, and it's been a situation where players have left and we have young lads in the team, and we're asking a lot of these young lads at such an early age in their footballing careers to stand up and be accounted for, but that's the situation we're in at the moment on football wise. I'm right in saying for Gary, his first game was Cork? Yes. So that was a defeat 3-1, lost to Pats 3-0, lost to Finn Harps 3-1, lost to Dundalk 3-1, 12 conceded, which is on a par with the goals conceded at the club this year. You've been a defender as well. That's something that Gary needs to look at even for the rest of the season, is trying to tighten up defensively, and if you can keep the odd clean sheet or two, it gives you a chance even to get a point or two, and if you can get within a win or two, it gives you a little bit of hope maybe. Yeah, as you said, just trying to get something out of the games. And for instance, Gary's came in, he's created the whole atmosphere as that work for each other, lads. We'll get out of this, take it one game at a time, and just really tapping into the mental aspect of the whole team. And I think the lads have bought into it. I think the attitude and training has risen. The lads have put a lot of effort in, and you can see the performances have got better. You look at last week against Dundalk, okay, we lost 3-1, but the final goal was a dubious decision. Could have been offside with Dylan Connolly's goal at the back post, but I think that we're in that game for large parts of it, and I think that's a positive. We can really go on from there and hopefully get something in Rovers on Friday. Yeah, I mentioned as well for Enda Minogue, 16-year-old goalkeeper who came in and started the game. I think the first choice goalkeeper Evan Moore got injured in the warm-up, so Enda came in, made some good saves, ended up losing the game 3-1, but to come on against Dundalk and play like that,
fair play to him as well. The appointment of the new manager seems to have been a clever one because he's got a lot of experience in the First Division, albeit as a coach. But if Bray are relegated, which is likely to go down to a First Division with top up, with second, third, fourth in playoffs, I'm sure there has to be a plan in place that if that does happen, he's the man to try and get them straight back up. And going down might not be the worst thing, even for attracting crowds. If you're winning towards the top of the First Division, it's easier to get people in the door than if you're losing in the Premier most weeks.
Yeah, winning's a habit, and that brings people through the door, as you said. With Gary, he's really tried to ease the young lads into the team, and trying to kind of emphasise that, lads, you are a part of this as much as the senior guys in the team. And I think the young lads credit them. They've been excellent. They've really tried at such a young stage in their career with no experience, that they're in this situation that they probably won't get to a few more years later down the line. And I think Gary's really tried his best at trying to make this team gel together, and he's really working hard. Yeah,
and last two questions, Hughie. As a person from Bray, you must be happy that the period of total disaster from an ownership point of view is gone, and that the club is something that the people of the area, in terms of how it's run and what it's trying to do, can be proud of, which is something that hasn't always been able to have been said in the last couple of years. But that has to be a positive, and results aside, it looks like it's going to go that way.
Yeah, as I said, just getting the all volunteers back and really putting it out there. I think this week the club had a summer camp free for kids. Something as small as that. People really appreciate that. Mothers, fathers around the Bray area really appreciate that gesture from the club, and it's only going to breed more fans into the ground. I really think the club are working their best off the pitch to get people in, which is fantastic to see.
Finally, Hughie, we started on you, we'll finish on you. We spoke to Roberto Lopez before you about giving up his job in the bank to be a footballer. You're in an interesting position in terms of being a professional footballer, but injured. You're also into academic type of things. Just tell me about your course and your study, and the fact that you do something away from football, and that you will do something away from football when you retire in a number of years.
I'm in the final year of my degree in sports science, so I think I went back a few years. I went a bit later, 21, to do my degree, and I knew then football's never going to last forever, and the money in this league, it's not a lot. Ask any player. It's just enough to get by each week, the majority of us, and you need something to fall back on. Like, I'm in this awful situation that with this injury, my contract's up at the end of October, and I'll be mid-stage in my rehab. So, like, to be dealt that card, that the insecurity or the security of not having a 2-year contract or a 52-week contract in the League of Ireland, that's a scary situation that a lot of players find themselves in. On top of that, being injured in the off-season and not having a contract, it's kind of, you're asking yourself, whoa, I have a big task ahead to find a club. It could be the case Bray want me back. Hopefully they do. If they don't, then I could be the case going on trial with teams, and that's the scary situation in this league, that such short-term contracts, they're not long, not a lot of security. You need something to fall back on, and I just think that I was lucky that I went back a few years ago to have something, and worst case scenario, I'll have a degree at the end of next year to go off with, you know.
Well, surely after all that's happened, that you'll get a contract at Bray, and if you don't, it'd be quite outrageous. But I'm sure the good people in the club now will realise what you've done for the club, and what the club had done to you and not paying for that operation, and we'll sort things out, because once you're back, you'll be back and strong, and hopefully with that Bray captain's armband on again. Hughie Douglas, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Jamie.